Hello, I'm Chris Pattle, and if you're new here, I've been collecting LEGO minifigures since 2015. In fact, sometimes rather than buying a LEGO set and building it, I'll just buy the minifigures separately on Bricklink or on eBay. And one thing I'm always looking out for is minifigures I think are going to increase in value, so that I can make sure I buy them while they're still cheap.
Okay, and what are you looking to get?
Looking to sell each individually for $250,000.
So in this video, I'm going to go through some LEGO minifigures that I think are going to increase in value over the next few years. I'll talk about why and what their current value is according to brickranker.com, the #1 place to find out the value of any LEGO set, minifigure, or even an individual part. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Okay, the first minifigure is a bit of a wild card, but I do think it's going to go up in value, and it's Ayrton Senna from the McLaren set. So this set is basically the first set to be released in a new sub-theme. It's a sub-theme because LEGO has been making these icon cars for quite some time, but we've only recently started to get Formula 1 cars, and this was the first one. Since then, we've had Nigel Mansell's Williams, and we'll shortly be getting Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, and I think we're probably going to see more historic Formula 1 cars turned into LEGO sets. Anyway, anytime that LEGO brings out a new sub-theme, the first set to be released in that sub-theme normally goes up in value quite a lot after it's retired. We've seen this with the Star Wars helmets. One of the first sets in that sub-theme was the TIE Fighter pilot helmet, and that's now worth over $300. And I think the same thing could happen with this McLaren set. And if that does happen, then it will surely mean that the value of the Ayrton Senna minifigure will increase too. The next minifigure in this list is Super Shadow from the Sonic the Hedgehog theme. Now, the Sonic minifigures are actually some of my favourite from recent years. I hope we keep getting more and more characters. And again, this is a bit of a wild card because I don't think that the Sonic LEGO sets have sold that well. I often see them at a pretty heavy discount, and hence this minifigure isn't that expensive if you want to buy it right now. I think you can probably buy it for under $10. But I do think that in a few years' time, people are going to look back on these sets of minifigures and think, you know what, those are actually pretty cool. And they'll then want to start collecting them, and that should increase the price of them. Now, I've specifically chosen Super Shadow out of all of the Sonic minifigures because one, he just looks the best, but two, he came in only one set and it was quite an expensive set. I also think Super Sonic could increase in price too, but he came in more than one set, so he won't be as rare. Yeah, I do think that even though the Sonic LEGO sets are aimed at kids, I would urge you all not to miss out on these minifigures while they're still relatively cheap. Of course, with it being the most popular theme, there's always going to be a few Star Wars minifigures in this list, and the first one is Jedi Vader. So this minifigure comes in what I think is the coolest Star Wars set that we've seen in recent years, the Dark Falcon. And what I love about this set is that the Dark Falcon doesn't actually exist in Star Wars. LEGO just completely made it up. And all of the minifigures that come with this set are absolutely fantastic. But the best one, and the one most people want, is Jedi Vader. Now, basically, a good rule of thumb, which I always follow to find out what minifigures to buy, is to go onto BrickRanker, find an expensive set, and find out what is the most valuable minifigure from that set if you were to buy it on a secondary market site like eBay or Bricklink. And then just make sure that you buy that one, because by that point, the market has already kind of said what is the most desirable minifigure in that set. So really, it should just keep increasing in price once that set retires. So at the moment, if you look, you can see Jedi Vader is $33. I can easily see this minifigure going for over $100 a few years after this set retires. Next is the only minifigure on this list that's from a retired set, and it's Captain Salazar from the Silent Mary. So as you probably know, last year LEGO released the first Pirates of the Caribbean set since 2017 with Captain Jack Sparrow's pirate ship. And as far as I know, this was a massive success. It was sold out on release, and judging by its price to piece ratio, I think this is probably one of LEGO's most profitable sets at the moment. There's also rumours that we'll be getting more Pirates of the Caribbean sets, maybe one big set every year like we've seen with the Lord of the Rings ones. And if that does happen, then I think the price of the old Pirates of the Caribbean minifigures will increase, because it just makes sense, doesn't it? Like, if people start to get into the theme and they have all of the new minifigures, they're naturally going to think, you know what, it'd be cool if I had all the old minifigures too. And that will only increase their price. So yeah, I think out of all of the old Pirates of the Caribbean minifigures, Captain Salazar is a pretty good bet. And it also follows my thesis of just buy the most expensive minifigure from one of the most expensive sets. You know, you could look at this set and look at the minifigures in it and say, well, yeah, I could buy two Henry minifigures for the same price as Captain Salazar. But it's better to just have the best one, basically. Along with the Pirates of the Caribbean, another theme that I think many of us were pleased to see return last year was The Simpsons.
Spider-Pig does whatever a Spider-Pig does.
Of course, back in 2014, The Simpsons House and the Quickie Mart sets were released, and after a long gap, we finally got the Krusty Burger last year. Now, I don't actually love the set. I don't rate it that highly. I think it looks a bit underwhelming and has far too many stickers instead of printed parts. So I'm not going to go out and spend £180 on this set. However, one minifigure from the set that I think could increase in value quite a bit is Sideshow Bob. Now, it's funny because he's actually one of the worst minifigures in this set. I don't think Lego managed to get the shape of his head right. It just looks slightly off. But having said that, he is one of the most iconic and popular Simpsons characters. So I think that on its own will increase the demand for this minifigure after the set retires. Another Star Wars minifigure that I think could go up in value quite a bit is Darth Malak. So back in 2024, Lego included a bunch of promotional minifigures into Star Wars sets to celebrate 25 years of Lego Star Wars. And one of those minifigures was Darth Malak. Now, this minifigure has all the hallmarks of being a good investment. It's an obscure character. We've never seen Darth Malak in minifigure form in the past and probably won't see him again. Plus, he's based on a character from the Knights of the Old Republic video game. And I've only ever gotten one other minifigure from that game, which is Darth Revan. And that's like a $300 plus minifigure right now. So all of the signs are pretty good with this one. I could be wrong. But just by playing the percentages, I think this minifigure is a good one to buy. Okay, next up is a minifigure that I was hesitant to include on this list, and it's the one I'm least confident on, and it's Pharrell Williams. So last year, Lego released this really weird set called Over the Moon with Pharrell Williams. I don't think anyone was expecting this set, and I don't really understand who the target customer was. I also think it's sold incredibly poorly because I often see it at a discount on Lego.com. Now, Lego rarely offers any kind of decent discount on their own website. So when you see this set at like 30% off, then you just know that they're struggling to sell it. So because not many copies of this set would have been sold, and it's also due to retire soon, so it won't have had a very long shelf life. All of that means, relatively speaking, there won't be many copies of this minifigure in circulation. Plus, because it is based on a real person, even though I think his popularity is declining, you just never know. You know, he could come back into the public eye more, and, you know, more people will want to get hold of this minifigure. So even though I'd say this one is a pretty big gamble, you know, he who dares wins, as the saying goes. Okay, finally on this list I have Gingerbread Vader from the Gingerbread 8080 set. Now this is the only minifigure on this list which I don't own yet, and that's because this set has been pretty much sold out non-stop on Lego.com ever since it was released in October last year. It's obviously been a massive hit, and I definitely think Lego is going to make more gingerbread themed Star Wars sets in the near future. They'd be fools not to, really. And because this set has been sold out on Lego.com, it's actually selling on Bricklink and eBay for more than the recommended retail price. And if you just want to buy the minifigure, that's selling for around $40, which is crazy when you think that the recommended retail price of the set is $60. So with this minifigure, my plan is once the stock starts to increase and you can actually buy it, I'm hoping that the price of the minifigure will start to come down, and then I'll be able to get hold of a few. And yeah, I think this minifigure will increase in value because, yeah, first of all, as I said, I think Lego's going to make more gingerbread themed Star Wars sets, and as I said with the Ayrton Senna set, once that happens, the first set in the sub-theme always increases like a lot. So yeah, out of all of the minifigures on this list, if I was to just invest in just one of them. This is the one that I would choose, I think. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the 8 Lego minifigures I think are going to increase in value over the next couple of years. Let me know if you think I've got it right or if I'm talking complete nonsense in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more Lego videos like this, and see you in the next one.